There are two types of home cooks in this world. The ones who just know that a pinch of this and a dash of that makes the perfect tasting meal. And then there are those who have to read a recipe to see every ingredient and measurement in order to even make toast. Sometimes the best way to learn the culture of a region or people is to be guided by a book that was written by a cook.
These days, it's incredibly easy to find a recipe for just about any dish, anywhere, at any time. Just hop online and search for it. But it wasn't always that way.
For centuries, people shared recipes by communicating them to each other verbally, so you kind of had to remember what it was.
In the very early days, those who could read and write would jot down their recipes by hand. Eventually, the invention of the printing press in the 1400s helped change that. Who better to whip up the history of the cookbook than the Henry Ford's curator of domestic life, Jeanie Miller?
What makes a cookbook a classic?
A cookbook becomes a classic when it's around for a long time and when it has a big impact on people.
This AMELIA SIMMONS cookbook was a first of its kind, written by an American and printed in America in 1796. By 1830, there were about a dozen reprints, making it the first classic American cookbook.
At the time, cookbooks would often rehash or reprint English recipes because that was available. But this book is different because not only does it include those English recipes, but it also includes American recipes. And like how to cook a turkey and how to make a cranberry sauce. She was the first one, as far as we know, to suggest that cranberry sauce would go great with turkey.
I recognize this book.
There are over 15 million copies of Joy of Cooking. It is a culinary Bible for many generations of women. It was written by Irma Rombauer.
Rombauer's updated 1943 edition became the best-selling classic we all recognize today. That wartime volume included easy-to-make recipes with ingredients like canned and pre-packaged goods.
We cannot do this segment without mentioning the name Julia Child.
Absolutely. Julia Child encouraged Americans to cook and eat French food. This cookbook is one of 100,000 that sold between 1961 and 1965. So it took off with a great vengeance.
Her charismatic TV presence only added to the popularity.
And when do we start seeing cookbooks by Black authors?
One of the first cookbooks by an African-American was written by Abby Fisher.
What Mrs. Fisher knows about old Southern cooking.
Yes. Abby Fisher probably learned cooking as an enslaved person, probably on a plantation in South Carolina.
Written in 1881, her contributions included award-winning recipes for pickles and preserves. A snapshot of American history through the eyes of our nation's culinary artists.